So let's see today's lovely recipe of Goan prawn and bindi kaldin. Let's go through the ingredients. Here I have 1 teaspoon of pepper powder, half a teaspoon of cumin powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander powder and half a teaspoon of turmeric or haldi powder. 1 medium onion chopped fine, 1 small tomato chopped fine, half a cup of prawns and 4 bindis or ladyfingers, 7 to 8 cloves of lavang and 5 cloves of garlic chopped fine, 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 1 cup of thick coconut milk, some salt to taste. So those are all the ingredients that we need. Now I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of oil to a pan. So while the oil is getting nice and hot, I'm going to mix all of these powder masalas well together. And then I'm going to add the vinegar to the powder masalas and mix everything to make a nice thick paste. Now we want the oil to be nice and hot, so on a low to medium flame I'm going to heat the oil up. And like I said, I'm going to add this vinegar to the masalas and I'm going to mix them well till they become a nice paste. Now this is a very refreshing light curry and it goes best with some lovely rice. So that's done. And now that our oil is hot, I'm going to add the cloves or the lavangs. I'm going to fry them a bit so that they flavor the oil really well. And now I'm going to add the chopped up garlic. Now it's always very handy that, if you peel some garlic and keep it in a small airtight container in your refrigerator so that you don't need to, sit and last minute, clean up and peel up garlic. Now I'm going to add some chopped onion and saute it well. We're going to fry this onion till it becomes nice and translucent. So this curry, if you haven't tried out this Goan Kaldin curry, you should because it's really, really delicious. Now I'm going to add this mix powder paste of pepper, coriander, cumin and turmeric. Now I'll leave the video link of how I prepare my powder masalas at home. That is for coriander, pepper and cumin. How I prepare my powders masalas at home. I'll leave a link to my video. Now I'm going to add the coconut milk. And we're going to mix all of this really, really well. Well, already my kitchen has such a beautiful, the aroma of this kaldin is really, really it's very mild, but it's really very nice. Now I'm just going to flavor it with some salt to taste. And this kaldin gets ready also pretty quickly, as you will see. Now I'm going to add the prawns. Now the quantity that I'm making is just enough for 2 people. So if you want to make it for 4, then just double the quantity. Then I'm going to add the tomatoes. And we're going to mix everything nicely well together. Cook on a low to medium heat, stirring in between. And now I'm going to add these lady fingers that I've just cut off the tips, and I'm adding it to the curry. And now we're just going to cover and cook this for about 7 to 8 minutes so that the prawns as well as the lady fingers or the bhindi gets cooked. So on a low to medium heat, on a very low heat actually, just cook it for about 7 minutes. Now you'll see that the curry has really thickened up, or the kaldin has thickened up. So we're going to add about 1/4 cup of water. We don't want it to be very watery like a stew, but we have to have a little bit of thickish consistency. So I'm just going with about 1/4 cup of water. So add that and then mix everything or stir everything well. Now I also have another recipe for a fish kaldin, so I'll leave the link for that also below so you can go and check it out. And again I'm going to cover and just cook this for about 2 minutes so that everything comes together. And then we're just going to turn off the heat and our kaldin is all ready. This is super, super delicious, guys, and the aroma also is so beautiful. So give this a try and let me know in the comment section as to how you like it. Don't forget to go and So these are all the ingredients that we will require for the kaldin. Now here I have about 250 grams of basa fillets that I've cut into equal size pieces. Then I'm going to be requiring 1 cup of coconut milk. You can use the milk, the coconut packet, or you can use fresh coconut milk. This is some salt to taste. Then I require some haldi or turmeric powder, about 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon of pepper powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin or jeera powder, and 1 teaspoon of coriander powder. I also require 6 cloves or lavang. Then I have 7 cloves of garlic which I've chopped very fine, 1 inch of ginger chopped very fine, half a tomato chopped very fine, and 1 small onion chopped very fine. Also 1.5 teaspoon of white vinegar. Now I list all of these ingredients down in my description box below. Now I just heated about 2 tablespoons of oil, and I just lightly like to fry the fish on both sides for half a minute or so. This not only flavors the oil with the lovely fish flavor, but it also makes the fish cook faster, and it just has a very good different type of a lovely taste to it. Try this out, guys. Instead of putting the fish directly in, just give it a little bit of a fry on both sides for half a minute each. Once that is done, just take out the fish and set it aside. And now we're going to add all the other ingredients. So we're going to start by adding the cloves of the lavang to the oil. Then we're also going to add our finely chopped ginger, garlic, and onions. Now we're going to fry all of this very well together. Now as this is frying on a low heat, keep an eye on it. We're going to mix up the powder masalas, that is the turmeric powder or the haldi powder, the coriander powder, the cumin powder, and the pepper powder. And we're going to add a little bit of water, about a tablespoon or 2, and we're going to make a little paste of it. And then we're going to add this paste to our fried onions and ginger garlic. Then I'm also going to be adding about half a cup of water to this, and we're going to let this water come to a boil. So mix everything well. You can keep the heat on a little higher, medium to high, and just keep stirring and let the water come to a boil. Now once the water comes to a boil, we're going to add this coconut milk. Then we're going to lower the flame and we're going to just stir it. Then I'm going to add some salt to taste. Again, give it a good mix. And then we're going to add the tomatoes. So mix everything well again. And remember, keep the heat on low to medium. And now we're going to add the fish back to this mixture. Once that is done, we're just going to cover it up, and we're going to cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes, or till the fish is nice and cooked. Now you know that the fish is cooked because if you take a spoon or a knife and just cut one of the pieces gently, and if it really comes apart, that means your fish is ready. Now basa takes very little time to cook, and I personally like basa because it doesn't have many thorns. And now I'm just adding the vinegar, and I'm going to let it cook for about a minute, and then I'm going to switch off the heat. And your kaldin is ready. I have tried kaldin with everything, with prawns, with kingfish or surmai and pomfret. all of them taste amazing, but I personally like basa. So now the heat is turned off and I just can't wait to dig in. So I have this rice cooking and I'm just waiting to have it. So here I've transferred the kaldeen into a lovely serving tray or serving bowl, and I also have my rice all ready. I cook it the Goan way. I will leave a link on how I cook my rice, so you can check that link out by just clicking on it in my description box as well as my comments box. So it's time to serve. So here I have my rice, and now all I have to do is add this gorgeous kaldeen, and I just can't wait to dig in. Well, friends, the fish is just cooked right, and the flavor of this kaldeen is just mind-blowing. It's so light and so delicious, and it makes me so nostalgic because my grandmother, that's my dad's mom, and my dad used to make the best kaldeen ever. And I mean, it just has a different flavor. For those of you who haven't... So friends, today's lovely Goan Balchao recipe is one of my mom's recipes, and I always refer to her cooking books, and she has such an array of recipes. So today we're going to make this beautiful and delicious prawn balchao. So let's get started. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to show you how to devein prawns. I've got many requests from the beginners as to, Akshita, how do we devein prawns? Can you make a video? So I am going to include that at the end of this video. So let's start with today's lovely balchao recipe. And it has a few ingredients, guys. So let's go through the ingredients. Now here I have some prawns that I've deveined and I've washed them really well. It's very important to clean prawns really well and devein them. So here I have about half a cup of deveined prawns. I have 2 medium onions which I've chopped really fine. These are about 7 Kashmiri red chilies, 2 light green chilies which I've slit and then cut them into half, about 7 to 8 curry leaves. Now curry leaves are optional, but I love the flavor of curry leaves in this balchao. Half an inch of ginger and 10 cloves of garlic, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 6 teaspoons of vinegar. Now you can use white vinegar, you can use the Goa vinegar, salt to taste. Here I have 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds and half a teaspoon each of peppercorns and turmeric powder, which is also called haldi. So these are the only ingredients we're going to be requiring. So first I'm going to just take my mixer jar and I'm going to break the red chilies, take off the tip of the red chilies, or the stalk rather, and I'm just going to put the red chilies into my mixer jar. Now, it's also a good thing that you wash your Kashmiri chilies or dried red chilies, wipe them dry and then add them to the mixer jar. Now, I'm going to add my cumin and peppercorns to the mixer jar. Now, you can add your turmeric powder at this point too, but I don't like to add the turmeric or the haldi powder to my mixer jar because that discolors the lid of the mixer. So I always add the haldi powder or the turmeric at the end after the paste is done. Now I'm going to add my garlic and I'm just going to chop the ginger up into finer pieces or smaller pieces. That makes it, easy to grind. And then I'm going to add only half the quantity of the vinegar, grind it to a little coarse paste. And once the coarse paste is done, I'm going to add the remaining vinegar and grind it to a very smooth paste. So this is the consistency we're looking for. It's a thick, yet it's a smooth paste. So you see that all the chili flakes and everything is nicely ground. So now at this point, I've transferred it to a small bowl and I'm adding the turmeric powder in now. And I am going to mix the turmeric powder into the paste really well. So this this tip I've carried on from my dad. He used to always tell me never add haldi into your mixer pot because it becomes all yellow and doesn't even, I mean, the lid looks really, yellow and not really nice to look at. So I follow that tip even till today. Okay, so now I've taken a pan and I'm just going to heat my pan up, and now I'm going to add 3/4 cup of oil. Now because this is a pickle and we want the shelf life to be longer, so we're going to add a little extra oil, and also when there's not going to be a drop of water in this recipe. That's why I said when you're washing your dried chilies, ensure that you wipe them completely dry before adding them to the mixer pot. So once my oil is nice and hot, I'm going to add the onions and I'm going to fry the onions really, really well. So take your time with this recipe. See that the onions are nicely fried and they should, turn into a translucent color, or they should turn translucent rather. So just fry them for about a whole minute or so till they start to look like this. Now once the onions are done, we're going to throw in the chilies and slit the chilies up. That way the flavor of the chilies, it enhances the flavor, and you actually get the flavor of the chilies in this balcha, which is very important. So slit the chilies, break them up into half, and then fry the chilies also very well. So now I'm going to add my fresh curry leaves. Fry the curry leaves. Like I said, the curry leaves are completely optional, but I love adding them because they really just elevate the taste of this dish. So you can add them or you can skip it. It's all your choice. But I like the flavor of these curry leaves in this balcha, and my mom's recipe says to add it, so I am going to add it. So now I'm going to add my ground paste. Like you can see, it's a thick paste. There's no water. It's not watery. There's not extra vinegar because we don't want it to be very sour. So 6 teaspoons is just enough. And now the most important part is to fry the masala or the paste that we ground really, really well. So you'll get this beautiful dark red color. Now we're going to add salt to taste. Always go with a little less salt initially and then add it later. So now I'm going to add the sugar because we've added vinegar. So, sugar kind of balances the taste of the dish. And now before you add the prawns, just taste this. Take a little bit of it and let it cool down, and then taste it to see whether you need to add any more salt, whether you need to add more sugar, vinegar. So do a taste test, and only after that you add the prawns. Now mix the prawns in well. Be gentle so that they don't break, but ensure that the prawns are nicely cooked in this masala. So, continuously stir and let the prawns get nicely cooked. You cannot have raw prawns in this, so cook it very well. And of course, the heat of the masala will cook the prawns. Prawns don't take a lot of time to cook. So just keep stirring for about 2 to 3 minutes and fry everything really, really well. So this balcha, for those of you who don't know what balcha is, it's a pickle made with prawns and this masala paste. And it's just like any other pickle, you can store it in a nice clean jar like I'll show you. And it has a very long shelf life. So now I'm just checking to see whether the prawn is done, and it is done. So now all we have to do is just cook it or uncovered for another 5 minutes. So this is a pickle kind of a dish, a balcha, a spicy pickle, and it really goes well with any meal. And especially in the monsoons, when fish is not that easily available, people used to make this, especially in the olden days, and keep it as so they have some kind of fish available to eat at the house. Same with dried fish, etc. So our prawn balcha is ready. Now let it cool completely. And you have to have the oil element because that is a preservative, and it keeps the shelf life longer. You don't need to refrigerate it immediately. Maybe after a day or two you can put it in your refrigerator. So I put it in a clean dry jar, and always ensure that the oil is always above the rest of the the whole balcha. And yeah, that's it. So now for those of you who want to see how to devein prawns, so here I got about, I don't know, maybe half a kilo of prawns. I used it to make some prawn pulao, and we made some prawn curry, Goan prawn curry. All recipes are there on my channel. I'll leave the links below. So now what you do is you wash the prawn. Now you take a very sharp knife and you just cut it at the back of the prawn like this completely. And then you will see that there's a kind of a vein which has, it's basically the intestine of the prawn. and that is very important that you take it all off. So all the black stuff, sometimes it comes out in parts, sometimes you can pull out the whole thread, as you'll see, and then wash it really well, after you cut it up, and keep it on a dry plate. That's what I just did. I got a plate just behind my camera stand and I'm putting it over there. So take a sharp knife, cut it all the way through, right up to the end, and then just pull out that vein. So sometimes you'll see it comes all together into one shot, or sometimes it just breaks up, so you ensure that the entire thing is removed. But it's very important that you devein prawns and wash prawns really well before you use them for any recipe. Otherwise, you'll end up with a very bad tummy ache and other fiascos. So better to be safe and always do this. So take your time, with the prawns, and clean them really, really well. Also, when you're buying prawns, when the prawns are really nice and fresh, you will not get any bad odor from the prawns. Plus, they should be nice and firm. They shouldn't look limpy. They should be very, very firm. So, if you take into account all these things when you're buying prawns, they don't have any kind of stench. They should be really fresh, and they should look nice and fresh and firm. So some of them did come out in one shot, like one entire vein or intestine came out together, or sometimes they came out in parts. But the main thing is, ensure that they are all nice and clean. So that day we had this lovely prawn bal chow. Then I made sorak. Then we had surmai fry, which is my favorite, and some lovely rice. So it was a real good meal. So I thought I'd share this prawn bal chow recipe with you, so you can make it. Okay, so here you can see that it almost came out in one go. And then just wash it under running water and keep it aside in a dry plate. And then after that, ensure that all the water of the prawns come away. So always keep your plate in which you keep the prawns on a little slant so that all the water goes away.
canción para mi gente. Con una pasión tan fuerte.